Hey, this morning's live is going to be about me talking about some of the key influencers that have supported my network marketing career. And so I labeled it Friends in High Places because I've got some great friends and great people that have supported me in my career. And I wanted to tell you who some of them were so they could support you in your career. And it's such a huge advantage to have people in our profession today that are great authors and great podcasters and great mentors for everyone in the profession. And some of these people are building their own teams and their own network marketing companies, but they're still out there sharing with the entire community because if they're friends of mine, they believe in the philosophy that a rising tide raises all ships. And, you know, we don't, as a crowd of friends, believe that everybody ought to be in our company and that our path to success is that our company is the biggest and the best and everybody else suffers as a result. We believe that all of us ought to be successful in our chosen company and even our chosen philosophies. So the people I'm going to introduce you to this morning, you know, they run the gamut of how to go about building a network marketing organization. And a lot of them do things totally different than I would. You know, one of the things that I've discovered about friendship is if the only friends that I can have are people that agree totally with me and everything that I believe in, I'm going to have a really short list of friends. So my best friends, personal friends in the world are still my high school buddies, and we run the gamut of things that we believe in and things that we value, and we couldn't be more different in the different ends of the spectrum that we fill. And so that's something perhaps for you to think about is, you know, think about your politics, think about your religion, think about your values. And if the only people that you embrace in your life are people that agree with you, if they're the only people that you can have a healthy, loving conversation with, a fun conversation with, you're going to have a pretty short list and you're not going to live a diverse life. You know, Kimmy and I are here in the Maldives. You know, here's an interesting country for you. You can't be a resident of the Maldives unless you're Muslim. You can't actually live in this country unless you're Muslim. And, you know, there's so much diversity around the world, so many different opinions and views. And one of the things that I like to keep at the forefront of my mind is, you know, what I believed in and what I thought was true 5 years ago, I have discovered at times is not true and not the way I hold the world anymore. And certainly if you would have interviewed me 30 or 40 years ago and you would have said, hey, Richard, what's true? What are the facts of the world? How does the world work? You know, I'd have told you a totally different story than I would tell you today. So I encourage all of you to embrace diversity, study people that you disagree with, you know, study people whose philosophies and values are contrarian to yours. And study them with the possibility that maybe there's something to learn from them. So as I go through these list of friends and colleagues that I have in the profession, just a reminder, a lot of them do things totally different than I do, totally different philosophies, totally different approaches, but that doesn't make what they do wrong. It makes what they do different. And for your network marketing career, what you might think about is 10, 20, 30 years from now, do you want to be the product of one philosophy or do you want to be the product of many philosophies that you've studied? And then you've sort of evolved into, you know, what's true for you, what works for you. And maybe you even have more conviction about what works for you because you've studied a lot of other philosophies that don't work for you. And you've studied them with an open mind and an open heart. So here's some people that I'll introduce you to. I'm going to tell you who they are and I'm going to post in the comments here on this live where you can go to look at their books, look at their podcasts, look at what they're doing. Some of them are building a network marketing and some of them are totally generic. So I got to resort to my list here so I don't miss anybody. First person I'm going to start with is Simon Chan. Simon is a very successful USANA distributor who went generic a few years ago and has done a phenomenal job of interviewing people and posting fantastic content on his podcast. So if you haven't watched Simon Chan, I encourage you to watch what he does, watch how he does it, listen to the people that he interviews, and get a sense for what kind of value Simon might be able to provide to you. So here's a shout out to you, Simon. I know you're probably doing your own podcast, not watching mine, but a shout out to Simon. And another guy that's recently just raged onto the screen is Rob Sperry. I met Rob a couple of years ago at a GoPro event, and wow, this is a guy that lays down some content every day. Rob Sperry is laying down content after content. You might recognize his lives from the calendar behind his head, which I don't know if he's ever explained why he puts that calendar behind his head, but I think it gets my attention anyway. So here's a shout out to you, Rob. I appreciate the interview you did of me. And, Rob's got a great book, The Game of Networking. Check out that book. It's different. Some really good value in there. And Rob Sperry lays down content after content. Simon and Rob are both generic trainers now. They're not building in network marketing. So for what that's worth. Ray and Jessica Higdon, friends of mine for, I don't know, about 7 or 8 years. I think I actually met Ray at Eric Worre's 50th birthday party in Las Vegas, and he was just coming off some great success as a network marketer and thinking about going generic. And now Ray and Jessica have one of the most successful generic coaching and online training and recruiting training programs in the entire profession. They attract some of the most successful leaders in the profession to go to school on what they're teaching and what they're coaching. And they have this program called Rank Builders or Rank Makers, I think. Thousands and thousands of people in that program that get daily coaching from Ray and Jessica about how to rank up. So if you haven't checked out Ray and Jessica Higdon, check them out. Really phenomenal content from the two of those, making a huge difference for thousands of network marketing leaders. David Skultety. David is a top Purium distributor. I love the fact that David is still building. I personally, what my philosophy is, if it's good enough for everybody else, it ought to be good enough for us. And so I'm always asking people that are coaching and training, what are you building? What company are you building? And, for some generic people, it's just not right to do that. And I totally get it. But for me, it's right to do it. I just love this profession so much that I couldn't even imagine not building a company. And David is a very successful networker with his own organization, a great coach, a great speaker, great author. Ripple Marketing is his book, great book. And David is out there sharing his wisdom and his experience with the entire profession. And I know that anybody that taps into David's philosophy is going to get great, great value from it. I'm going to turn back my iPad back on. Oh, Randy Gage. How could I forget Randy Gage? He's been around almost as long as I have. And Randy has written so many great books, so many great audio programs. The First Circle is one of my favorite books that he's written. It's a short little book that really helps new people understand how this profession works. Randy is a top distributor in Fusion, which is a Peruvian network marketing company here in the United States now. And, I love the fact that Randy walks his talk. He and I are different in a lot of ways, but I love his authenticity and his unapologetic authenticity about, I am Randy Gage and deal with it. And he just has great wisdom and great stuff that he always puts out there for people to pay attention to. So if you haven't tapped into Randy Gage, you're going to want to do that. Big Al, Tom Schreiter. I know a lot of you follow Tom and have read his books. Tom's book, Big Al Tells All, is the first network marketing book that I ever read. Would have been, I don't know, maybe like 1986, 1987. I'm sitting on a plane from Los Angeles to San Francisco reading this short little book, Big Al Tells All. Everybody had gotten off the plane. The cleaning crew was on the plane. I'm sitting in the back of the plane in tears reading Big Al Tells All. It was that good. And Tom's a great friend of mine, and he's like the Johnny Appleseed of network marketing. He goes all over the world nonstop, just doing these, events anywhere anybody will have him, and all he does is share content. Probably 45 years worth of full-time experience in network marketing. He's owned his own company. He's built huge organizations and probably has the most prolific, other than GoPro, most prolific generic network marketing content. Like, how many people have been impacted in network marketing by somebody? Eric Worre would be first. Tom Schreiter, I think, would be second. So shout out to you, my buddy Tom Schreiter, somewhere in the world. Sonia Stringer, a lot of you may not have heard of Sonia, but she's probably the #1 female party plan, skincare kind of companies, female coach in our profession. Been around for decades, a really powerful internet marketer herself. Done some incredible results where I've met some of my best friends in the profession, her Believe events. Sonia doesn't have a book, but her website's right here, soniastringer.com. Anything you get from Sonia is going to be golden. She's just one of the best, most beautiful people in our profession. Totally generic, not building anything herself, but she's made many, many, many millionaires in our profession. Check out anything she's doing. Pam Barnum, Pam and Kevin are Isogenics leaders. They live up in Canada. Pam just released, what is the name of that book? Oh, yes, A Lawyer's Case for Network Marketing. Think about that title, A Lawyer's Case for Network Marketing. Pam used to be a prosecutor, an undercover agent for the Canadian police and a prosecutor for Canada. She and Kevin met while undercover. If you've never heard their story, you got to read their story. They were both undercover cops working drug operations in Canada, and their cover was to be married. Well, think about that. How do you pull that off authentically? Anyway, it led to romance, led to marriage, led to the two of them getting out of law enforcement and building an empire in network marketing. And Pam just released this book. I mean, I'd have a half a dozen or a dozen of these books in my arsenal. I've got them ordered. Anytime somebody says, well, is this legal? I just plop that book down in front of them and say, I don't know, ask her whether it's legal or not. Pam Barnum, shout out to you, girl. Romy Neustadt with Rodan and Fields, $1 million a year earner. Romy has got one of the most potent, most in-your-face, most authentic books in this profession. You're going to want to read that book, Get Over Your Darn Self. It's actually Get Over Your Damn Self. Romy and I had quite a little conversation about whether she should say Get Over Your Damn Self. But that's Romy, and it's a totally in-your-face, authentic, super powerful book. Talks about how she went from being a corporate lawyer to being one of the top earners in Rodan and Fields. And, just a beautiful story. She's a super potent leader. It's a book you're just going to want to read and have in your arsenal because it'll give you a totally different perspective on doing things. Love Romy. Romy and John, great, great people. Let's see. Oh, my buddy Todd Falcone. But Todd Falcone, most of you know Todd. He and I have been friends for a long time. I love Todd because he's super authentic. He knows what he's talking about. He's built big teams of his own. He's totally generic now. But, he can afford to be because he has a following all over the world. And, he just supports leaders from all over the world, from hundreds of different companies. And he can do that because he knows his stuff. Todd, his Fearless Networking Group, his Fearless Networking book, some of the most authentic, in-your-face, raw, real, powerful stuff that actually works. You can learn a lot from studying Todd Falcone, and he'll keep you in stitches because he is super funny. Let's see. God, how about Fraser Brooks? I just ran into Fraser Brooks online. I haven't met him yet, but been watching Fraser now for a couple of months. If you haven't watched his podcast, I don't know if he has a book, but ninjanetworker.com. Check out Fraser Brooks. He's over, I think, in Manchester, England. He's totally generic as well, but he has a long and successful career as a network marketer. But Fraser's, he just nails the podcast space. I think every day he does like a 30-minute live teaching people, new content on how to nail social media, how to build a huge team. Fraser Brooks, Brookes. Somewhere, if you trace us back far enough, we got to be related because my family came from England, and somewhere along there somebody changed the spelling a little bit. Either he did or I did. But check out Fraser Brooks. He's super funny, really, really experienced guy, and he, like Rob Sperry, just lays down the content live after live after live. Great stuff. Let's see. Erika Marina Worre, of course. I mean, how could I talk about trainers and coaches and support people without talking about them? They have clearly influenced more people in this profession than anyone else, and they've done it just in the last 6 or 8 years, which shows you what's possible when you put together a system, a daily system of operation, and you stick to it, and you have a long-range plan. Erika and Marina are now totally generic, have been for the last 8 years. Started GoPro 8 or 9 years ago, and how did Eric start that? He did a live every day for 18 months. He did a live every day before there were lives. He just did a video every day for 18 months in a row. A totally heroic and epic effort. Just think about that. Every day for 18 months, building a following before he really launched GoPro. And GoPro is now the biggest generic event in the world. I think it's splitting off now and having events all over the world so that it's not such a madhouse when you go. But, crazy. Tony Robbins and Sir Richard Branson and, Brendan Burchard, these are people that speak at GoPro. And Erika and Marina's book, GoPro, the most read book in network marketing, got to be in everybody's library. Everybody's got to study those 7 steps, master those 7 steps. Puts you on your way to being a super rock star. So Erika Marina, thank you for what you do. We got the most powerful women in network marketing coming up in mid-April. If you all are not going, wow, that's just something to consider. Your national convention first, the generic event of your choice second. In Kimmy and my's opinion, the most powerful women in network marketing is the best generic event in the profession. We look forward to seeing you, a bunch of you there in April. And last but not least, my friend Jordan Adler, Beach Money and Beyond Beach Money, he just released. Some of you may have heard that Kimmy launched her network marketing career by reading Beach Money 9 years ago and got a great tip from Jordan in that book. Which basically gave her the track to run on, which was to have lunch with somebody every day. She only had a lunch hour to build her business, and she didn't know how to do it. Her mentor, the top distributor in the company, totally different company than Jordan. Jordan's the top distributor in Send Out Cards. Recommended that she read Beach Money. This is 9 years ago. She read the book. All the lights came on. This is how she's going to do it. She's just going to go to this little Thai restaurant and she's going to have lunch with a different friend every day. And she did that for 90 days and she was making enough money 90 days later after personally enrolling 40 or 50 people that she gave notice at her job, went full time. And you know what? 4 years later, her 4-year career, she had 20,000 people on her team and was making $1 million a year. So that's the contribution that Beach Money is. If you haven't read Beach Money, if you haven't ordered Beyond Beach Money, both of those need to be in your arsenal. You need to give those to your team. So here's something to think about in terms of a system for building your team. And, this system came from a guy, Adam Green, who's a brand new daddy. Adam is my sponsor in network marketing, but he created this system way before he was my sponsor. He used it in part to build his team, and it's a system of recognition. And I want to share it with you because of all the tools and the authors and the books that I've just told you about. You might incorporate all of these with this system. And here's Adam's basic recognition and appreciation system for building his team. And he's duplicated this throughout his team so that many of the leaders on his team do this same thing. Every time somebody rank advances on his team, now he did this for like 2 years during his growth phase, to the point where he was doing it with like 500-600 people a month. Personally, he was sending them a personal note and a book. And so he'd send them one book and a personal note when they rank advance the first time. The next time they rank advance, he sends them another book and a set of gifts, not just a book, but a set of gifts, like, a magazine about network marketing. It was all about personal development, all about belief building, all about network marketing. And he did that for every rank advancement on his team at all levels, not just personal, at all levels. And then he coached people to duplicate that throughout his team. So when people, 4, 5, 6, 7, 10 levels deep would advance just to the first level in the compensation plan, in Adam's organization, they would end up getting 4 or 5 loads of gifts, like here's this book, and here's this note, and here's another book, and here's another note. And, it's like flowers and cards and books and magazines and, links to podcasts and all these gifts people would get showered with every time they advanced. And why did they get showered? Because he duplicated it upline. So they didn't just get what Adam sent, they got what people below Adam also sent and people above Adam sent. So people would get overwhelmed like an avalanche of all these gifts when they advance. Well, what does that tell people? Well, first of all, it gives them the tools that they need to study and learn and read and watch to go to the next rank. And it also screams appreciation. It screams, you know what? We know you're out there. We know you worked hard. We know you advanced. And we appreciate you. And maybe we haven't met you. But, here's a handwritten note, which, wow, that's over the top. I think personally, I'd enroll and send out cards and send them a send-out card. That's a lot simpler. But, what a phenomenal system. So if you think about all the people I've shared with you today, from Simon Chan to Jordan Adler, and think about the books and the podcasts that they have, and, what if you created an arsenal of those things? And what if you created a system where every time somebody did something of notice on your team, not just personally, but second level, third level, fourth level, fifth level, what if you sent them something? What if you sent them a handwritten note? What if you sent them a book? What if you sent them a podcast? What if you sent them something that, will help build their belief and let them know that you're watching and you're paying attention and you appreciate them? What a phenomenal system that could be. And, that built Adam a team of 60,000 people and an income of $1.5 million a year. It's a system like that. Now, some of you may say, well, what does that cost? Well, here's something I'd like you to consider about what stuff costs. Here's a myth and a fallacy that almost all networkers have. If they get a check for $1,500, they think that's their income. $1,500. Whatever check or however you get paid from your network marketing company, whatever that income is, most networkers think that's their income. And it's not. What it is actually is your cash flow. It's your revenue. And a system, a philosophy that'll pay enormous dividends for you building your business is to invest 20% of your revenue back in systems that build your business. Systems that build your business. Now, a system can be investing in you, could be personal development in you, but it could also be something like Adam did, where he invests thousands of dollars every month in sending people handwritten cards and books. That's a system. And, maybe your system is some different kind of recognition. Maybe your system is a contest every quarter where, all of your top recruiters get together for a retreat. Some sort of system that you're funding. And why would you do that? Because there is not a better wealth building model on the planet than network marketing for people that aren't starting with, $500,000 or $1 million. I mean, to be able to start with $1,000 and build an asset in 4 or 5 years that's worth $1 million, where else can you do that on this planet? You can't do it. But the problem is people use almost entirely manual labor to build their 4-year career. Manual labor being, my talking, my prospecting, my presentations, my enrollments. And they don't think often enough about using revenue, using money to create and fund systems that replicate and duplicate so it's not all on you. And my suggestion is that whatever your cash flow is, invest 20% of it back in growing your business. Talk to your upline, talk to your coaches, talk to your group and say, hey, what kind of system would support you, inspire you, motivate your team, motivate brand new people? What could I do to, get people in action from day one and keep them in action? That's the best investment you'll ever make. If you're making, $50,000 a month and you're spending 10 grand a month on your business, on your team, that's one of the fastest ways you can get to 100 grand a month. Now, what do you spend it on? Well, you don't waste it. So get some coaching, get some ideas, figure out how can you scale it? How can you get as far down into your pay zone on your team as possible and get your message, get your story, get your love, get your recognition out to touch people. And you'll double your income every year. That's what's possible when you invest. So that's my message today. Kimmy and I here at the Maldives. Tomorrow is our last day. Thank you all for joining me. Have a great day.